we're not as gung-ho about that as we are about Article 8.
Okay.
So that's something that I think we're okay with just kind of putting aside, maybe talking about it some other time, and accepting the Article 4.9 changes as written, right? For the summer appointments, we both worked on that language. Article 8 was more so where we were kind of expecting some kind of feedback.
Oh, well, I think we told you earlier on that we were not in a position to do the paid parental leave, and there were a variety of reasons for that. One is that you are half-time rather than full-time. The other is it's a new cost factor that we are not in a position to deal with this year.
So our proposal was to begin to start this not this year, but 2021. Do you know what it would cost the university to begin to offer paid parental leave to GAs at all, either this year or next year after the pandemic hopefully subsides and we're all treated with vaccines?
I think the only thing that we might consider, and I haven't talked about it with our team, would be to have a reopener next year to look at that issue.
I think we would be amenable to that as well. Again, not having spoken with my team, myself either, since this is just brought up, I think that these things were kind of thrown out there, but nothing ever official. Would you be able to give us numbers on costs at all?
That would have to come either from Shannon's folks or from Dr. Sumfest. I mean, when you're doing something like that, you're looking at, pregnancy rates over time and so forth.
Understood. There's going to be a lot of variability there.
Yeah, I think the tricky part is measuring the probable frequency rather than trying to dig into the cost to the departments of replacing the capacity, which is, the direct cost is if somebody is off on leave and they're not teaching, how do the classes get taught? And typically that would be accomplished, I think, with some reassignment of, existing folks in the department. How that would be financed, I have no idea. So I think there are those kinds of costs, but everything is derivative of how frequent we anticipate requests for this kind of leave might be.
The other issue, of course, is RAs, because then you're eating into the grant activity, and I don't know how that would be handled.
Do you know, I guess you haven't taken a look at how other universities that offer these kinds of benefits handle that either, right?
I don't know of other universities that have paid parental leave for grad assistants.
Oh, okay. We did send you a list of some.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, if you could give us some numbers, that would be helpful. I know no one can be married to those numbers. We know that they're not written in stone.
Right.
They can vary wildly from year to year. And even then, there's always things that no one can account for in a pregnancy, right? Medically, otherwise. So.
Or an adoption.
Right. Which I think our language also requested the same benefits for people going through legal adoption.
I would hope so.
No, we did. Very careful to include that.
As the parent who adopted a kid, I understand those issues.
Yeah, right. So let us know that we would you be amenable to adding something like that to a reopener? I mean, I think you just said that actually. Yeah, so we can look to that then, and we technically have to change Article 25, right, as a matter of course, because that's our duration and amendment article.
No, I don't think so.
Well, we have to add the reopener, right? And I think some of the dates in there are fixed.
I don't have my contract handy.
Yeah, let me pull up mine. I'm pretty sure that we might have to.
But 25.3 says that if there's mutual agreement, we can have a reopener on anything at any time.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think even if we didn't have that in there, we could always agree to talk about anything that's mandatory, right?
right.
Like
But
a benefit.
my suggestion would be, if we go this route, is just to say, in accordance with Article 25.3, we agree that we will, in year 2, have a reopener on this particular topic.
Okay. So not make it a part of the contract, but just in writing elsewhere, we agree to this reopener
Yeah.
pursuant to 25.3. Okay. Let me double check. Because I was under the impression there was something else in 25 that we might need to amend, but I don't know if it was just that. I'm not sure if, Stephen, if you have any idea what I'm talking about, let me know.
Javi, we're certainly going to have to change 25.1 because
Okay.
it has a fixed date that's now passed. So I mean, that language will be 3 years after ratification until blah blah blah. So that if that's what you're talking about, surely that will happen.
I think so. Is that the language that required us to meet this year on January 15th?
No, that's 25.6.
Okay, that would have to change as well.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah,
I think,
so there is some date specificity throughout 25 that would have to be modified. That's true.
okay, and we can add this paid parental leave into next year. Again, keeping in mind that we would be, by the contract, there's a 90-day kind of clock that we'd start.
Right.
But if we have paid parental leave, that might change the situation a little bit, I imagine.
Yeah,
We can also always amend that clock. Apart from Article 10, which I think is, we have still some lingering questions about. I think that would wrap up the contract.
okay.
So what we're waiting on from you is the amended MOU language,
Yep.
which I have to send you language for the cleaning provision. And additional housekeeping, we need to work on Article 25. Rewrite, excluding any date provisions, but with reopener language about paid parental leave. So for our members, what this means is that basically we're continuing the paid parental leave discussion into next year, which is not that far off. But it's something that is obviously very important to us. And there are other things in this contract, I think, that we want to kind of cement in stone for January 1st, not just GAU, but the administration as well. So perhaps now this is the best option that we might have. Meredith and Rachel, I don't know if you want to chime in, but this is something that we'll probably address in greater detail during our debrief later. So now the elephant in the room, unless Paul, Brooke, or Bill, you have something else to add, Article 10. So it's my understanding. So the university's position, and if I don't state this fairly, please chime in, university team. But they contend that they cannot pay fees on our behalf under the Board of Governors regulations. I'm proud to share that today. Specifically, they pointed out 7.001, 7.008. GAU and UFF are not quite sure what's drawing you to this conclusion. I'm hoping that you can kind of share your rationale here today with us, and maybe we can kind of close this gap in knowledge or in understanding, because we're under the impression that you actually, first of all, 7.001 and 7.008 apply widely and give the discretion the university wide latitude about imposing fee and tuition waivers.
Yeah, but you're talking about waivers that are associated with tuition. You're not talking about the mandatory fees.
So, Bill, if you look at, and I'll share 7.001 here.
Yep.
So I hope everyone can see that, right? This is 7.001. I'm going to highlight that. Okay, all students shall pay tuition and associated fees unless waived pursuant to
It
regulations.
isn't up on the screen yet, Javi.
Oh, it's not?
No.
It's still loading.
Oh, okay.
Here
Sorry
we go.
about that.
There we
Here
go.
Sorry.
No, thank you. So I've highlighted here in ugly fashion, 7.001, all students shall pay tuition and associated fees unless waived, right? We don't have a waiver arrangement, but this term associated fees reappears within the same regulation in section 5. Associated fees shall include the following fees, where it names our health fee, and not our transportation fee unless it qualifies under section H, which is other fees approved by the Board of Governors pursuant to 7.00324. So I would argue that at least at face value, our health fee is definitely talked about in 7.0011 up above here.
Well, I guess my only reaction to that is our general counsel's opinion is we can't do what we negotiated a year ago. I can't go against the general counsel.
So, and Bill, I understand that, you know, some of these decisions are coming from the top, but it's going to be hard for us to ask our members to agree to a change in arrangement that the general counsel didn't object to a year ago, 1, that was blessed by the Board of Trustees, 2, that as far as we know, Tallahassee has not chimed in and said this is not a legal arrangement, 3, and 4, that's going to reduce the bottom line, which what we said at the beginning of this negotiation was what we cared about.
It doesn't reduce the bottom line. It's an even trade.
Well, Bill, if you pay this out as wages, right? If the mechanism that this is paid out by is wages, in your pocket, you're not going to get the same amount of money.
Yeah,
you're going to get a reduction.
Excuse me. I think number one, that it probably was taxable both ways, but if not, we would accommodate that.
Okay, so this changes the conversation from last week, right? Our concern was that we're going to make less money, and that's because some of it becomes withholdable tax income, right? That the university is required to hold back. You might get that money later when you pay your taxes, right? But until that's going to be way past the date of fee payment deadline, right? If the university is willing to accommodate, and it would have to do so, I think, on a case-by-case basis, because different salaries are going to require different tax withholdings, right? But if the university is, I think the university is prepared to offset that tax withholding for each student, I don't think we're going to have a problem. Now, I would like to talk to Rachel and Meredith and the rest of my team about it, but that was our initial concern, if this is going to be paid out as wages, right?
Right.
If we're making the same amount of money as before.
And George Kolb is the one who can answer that, and he's not around this week.
Okay, I understand. If we can get that in right, and we want to preserve the named fees, right? I think that the contention of the university is that, and just clarify this for me. Your issue is that it says also, well, I guess you don't know, your general counsel knows. But I would also, just another small point of contention, again, negated by the fact that you're offsetting the tax withholdings, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the contention of the general counsel's office is that all students shall pay tuition associated fees, means that no one can pay these fees or tuition on behalf of the student, including the university, there's a problem, because a lot of parents pay their children's tuition and fees.
Well, that's different.
Well, right. There would have to be a rule somewhere that says that that's okay. But if all we have is 7.001, there are mechanisms in place by which parties other than the student pay these fees or tuition.
Well,
clearly.
Here's my suggestion. My suggestion would be that next time we bargain, and I don't know when that is offhand, but I would suggest that we get George and Ryan Fuller in the room with us so that he can explain it and I don't have to try and interpret it.
That's fine. I can understand why you don't want to put words in someone else's mouth, especially your legal counsel.
Right.
I'll reiterate, if our issue has always been, I guess, our bottom line, and if we don't cut into the bottom line, if the university offsets any amount that would be removed from what we agreed upon in the tax withholdings, I think we're not going to run into any issues.
Okay. I think I can resolve that as soon as George is back next week.
Okay. Rachel of Meredith, I don't know if you want to chime in here, or if we're all on the same page. Again, I haven't had the opportunity to talk to them
Right.
specifically about this plan.
I just want to understand this, Javi. So
Sure.
we calculate the value of paying the fee. Let's arbitrarily decide that that's $100.
Sure.
And it turns out, though, that by giving you $100 in wages, we actually create a tax liability that would be offset. And the idea is, instead of giving you $100, we give you $110, or whatever would be the amount that would offset that tax liability. Is that what you're saying? And
Yes.
so that's kind of the lump sum piece of this that would refer to the fall fees, because that's what we're trying to resolve here, having discovered that we can't pay them. And then going forward, starting in the spring semester, the amount would be built into biweekly paychecks.
Yes. With the continued offset, I think we would have no problem with that.
Okay.
That was our concern.
All right, I'm sorry to be pedantic about it, but I just wanted to really clearly understand what it was you were trying to get a handle on, and how we might do it.
Oh no, you're in good company. This is a university employees bargaining with the university. This is as pedantic as it gets, I think, outside of an academic conference. But no, that's exactly what we're getting at, Paul, which would require a change in the language, because if you just pay out the amount equal to those two fees, minus tax withholdings is not, that's what we're trying to offset. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. If you have any additional questions, let us know. But yeah, if you can draw up language to that effect, Bill, I think pretty much our qualm with changing Article 10 is resolved.
Okay. All righty.
Yeah. So I will send you that what was it? Oh, the cleaning stuff. And I think that's all we have on the table, gentlemen. I don't know if, I guess we'll open the floor to questions or other issues at this time. But otherwise, we can debrief if not.
Okay, and then we need to schedule another bargaining session.
I'm amenable to that. Yeah, have Becky reach out to us and we can send her some more times.
Right, yeah, and frankly, I think one more session should get us a contract.
I'm of the same mind, having resolved Article 10. Bill, I guess I always do this. There's something else that came up. Regarding Article 10 for purposes of fall, we've told you that we wouldn't raise a stink if this is paid out in a lump sum, and we mean that. Given the university's position that we can't, I guess, do we need an MOU to pay out in lump sum fashion this fall fee relief?
I don't think so.
Okay, I don't think so either. So, and if we agree on that, I don't know who else can raise the stink.
Right.
Okay, great. As long as we're on the same page. All right, so we'll be in touch.
And I will start working also on drafting a board agenda item to get it ratified.
And you're trying to get this done before December 4th, is that correct?
No, that's not going to happen.
Okay.
And we won't be done with the faculty by then either.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll be in touch, and we'll pass some things between ourselves, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, thanks.
Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thanks for joining.
You and your team also.
Thank you.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Hey, can I make one comment before we depart?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Amanda.
Hi, sorry. I know we're in the happy Thanksgiving phase, and thank you. I wish that to you as well. But there's one comment that I would like to make, a question. It's just for the administrators. So I'm a PhD student in the chemistry department, and essentially a lot of students in my department, we have a large department. We have about 275 graduate assistants.
Right.
A lot of them have been following the fee relief issue closely, right? And I'm glad that we're reaching a resolution, but I feel like there's kind of been some heel dragging on this, and it went down to the wire. So students were kind of expecting to get the fee relief, and then they didn't end up getting that, right? We had to pay full fees. So students had to pay about $200 more than they were expecting. So that's not a drop in the bucket for people who are making like $23,000, $24,000 a year.
We had deferred that. I'll look into it.
Well, it's just, it is what it is, right? But it wasn't very considerate on the university's part to people who are making low wages, you know?
We've been working as hard as we can, as fast as we can under the circumstances.
Okay, and I appreciate this. I love coming to these bargaining sessions, and I think both teams do a good job. But I had to communicate this, right? Because this is the type of stuff that.
I appreciate.
Thank you.
Comment.
Right, we're the recruiters.
Yeah.
We're the recruiters.
Yep.
You can finish your comment, Amanda. Don't feel like.
No, I'm not cutting you off by any means.
Okay, thank you. But just keep in mind, this kind of stuff comes up when we talk at recruitment weekends with people who are concerned about paying fees, and there's other programs similarly ranked that don't even have fees or would be more, considerate to the graduate workers. So I appreciate where we're going. This is clear to me what we discussed today, but this is something that's come up in my department so much. I'm getting a lot of emails about it. So I want to share it with you. And I appreciate you listening.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Amanda. We're trying to hopefully put some writing together where this is not a problem in the future anymore for anyone. So us GAs or admin, we have a system that works for the Bursar, works for the legal team, works for the Board of Governors in Tallahassee, who has no idea what we do every day. I think that we can accomplish that. Your feedback's always welcome. And I know you've come to all of these, so thank you so much for showing your support. And let us know what we can do as a union to help with the chemistry department and kind of resolve any lingering issues with that. We're hoping to make some announcements as a union once everything's kind of set for ratification, answering any lingering questions that anyone may have.
Thank you. And people are happy with GAU's work. I don't think anyone's disappointed, but thank you, Javier.
Absolutely.
I will echo that. We're not disappointed either. We think it's a very productive working relationship between the union and the university.
I agree. I think we're on the verge of putting together a very good contract. Any other final comments before we conclude today? I can't see everyone, but I don't see any takers. Okay. Great. Thank you all. Again, happy Thanksgiving. And for members of GAU, we'll be having a debrief, kind of go over some things. I think we're pretty close to nipping this bargaining session, this round of negotiations in the bud.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all. I don't know if you're going to stick around on this Zoom to caucus bill.
I don't see a need unless Paul or Brooke does.
No, I think everybody's got their assignments.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, you all have a good one. Thank you for joining us today.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.